that was about the one of the highest point. And for the lowest point, I want to talk some unfortunate incident in my family. I mean, my father had a MI attack during my intensive posting, and he got admitted in a critical conditions in ICU with triple vessel block and was supported with pacemaker and all life supporting drugs like ADR. So that was really a critical and challenging situation for me. But with God's grace and like good medical team effort, he recovered. Today he's doing fine. So that incident has taught me like how to face the unwanted adverse situation in life, to be prepared for any conditions, and also that made me emotionally and like psychologically strong to face any kind of like hardship in life,
Oh,
and also to handle the emotionally challenging situations. So that point I want to talk
oh,
as a lowest.
that's a very, very good point. Yeah, that's a very good answer, actually. Yeah. So anybody else wants to share their highest and lowest points in the medical school? If somebody doesn't want to answer, then I have to call out the names, at least the people I know.
People also can give the feedback,
Sorry.
and also people can give their feedback if they want to say anything.
But yeah, I think it's an example. Otherwise, it's a good example. Like, I'm so sorry about that you had to go through such hard times. But it's a very good example that you managed everything so well. Like, when it comes to family, then, but still, when it comes to family, it's very hard. But the way you handled everything, so it shows that you can maintain a balance in a lot of in your personal and professional life both. And talking about your high points, I would, Dr. Sapta, I would I just have a mixed opinion to your like high point, because I don't think, like, personally I would brag about something. It's maybe you're not bragging about something, but yeah, I would not just say from upfront about my this achievements, academic achievements. But yeah, at the same time, I feel it's a way by which the program director will know about your academic achievements. Maybe in your CV you have mentioned that, but they might not go in so much
Yeah,
detail.
they don't know what is this honors, what is this gold medal. They are not aware about our like. But I feel like what to talk about highest point. There are many moments, so we can just pick
Yeah,
one.
that's that. Otherwise, I think it's a like good answer for me. Like, yeah,
Okay,
that way they know about your academic achievements also, and that will
okay,
something will distinguish you.
okay, okay.
So yeah. Okay, so we have, I think, Dr. Kash today with us and Dr. Indu as well. So, do you want to speak on your highest and lowest points during the medical school? Or anybody else wants to talk about their highest and lowest point during the medical school? Please go ahead.
Yeah, hey Aishwan, I'll just like I'm just working on my answer right now. I'll surely respond
Oh,
to the
perfect,
question later
perfect.
on.
Take your time.
Yeah, anyone else can just go ahead. Thank you.
Anyone, or I'll go with my answer. So the highest point, I would say, that yesterday I talked about an example, like how I got this a patient reconciled with her family. So I'll just talk that. Like, I won't repeat the example again, but yeah, I will just mention that during the highest point, because I got appreciation from my head of department as well for that, and everybody in that department appreciated me for like reconciling a patient with a family. So that was the highest point. And lowest point, I would say, it was like the ending month of my fourth year of medical school, because it was like hard for all of us, because after that all the group of friends will be going to the different spheres of life, and we would be departing from each other. So that was the toughest time for all of us, because we used to have a lot of time together, go to different places, go to picnics, and had a lot of good time together. So yeah, and we were like a family. But we during last month of our fourth year, it was hard, because as after that we never knew if we will be together again or not. So yeah, that were my highest and lowest points. So anybody else?
I can go for the
Go ahead.
highest.
Aishman, I want to give feedback that the highest point you mentioned was in your internship, not in med school.
I can just change it to my that also. Like, internship is a part of my medical school.
But it is done after graduation.
No, we graduate after internship in India.
Okay.
So I can just change it to the final year, right? I can just like little bit modify it, but I think that was the highest point for me. So yeah, I can just do that. Otherwise, I even have one more example, but yeah, I'll just talk about that later on. First, I'll let Harshita talk about her highest and lowest points. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I only have, sorry, the highest point, but the lowest I haven't drafted it yet. So for me, the highest point was when I was awarded the scholarship for academic excellence twice uh, in my first and second year of medical school for scoring a CGPA of more than 3.71. So they give it to all the students who score about 3.71 GPA. So I got the lowest point. I don't know. I haven't thought about it. Yeah, maybe I should expand on the highest point. I don't know. Is there anyone who can give me a feedback? Sorry.
Yeah, at least you should talk 3 4 lines like about the highest point so that they will understand the like why that was your highest point and like how that was impacted your life or something. Like
Mhm.
just
Okay.
one line is very short, I feel.
Okay. Okay. Thank
Talk
you.
for 30 40 seconds at least.
And you can just combine it. Like I know we certain things we have to just make up, right? So you can just add it, like maybe you had some hardships at that time, so the but in spite of that you worked really hard and you achieved something, so it was you felt very good about that. You can just frame it that way, like that's your example. Maybe the hardships you had at that point of time, maybe few of the hardships you had, right? So you in spite of that you worked really hard, but yeah, the time was were tough for you, but despite of that you got a good CGPA and you were awarded a scholarship. So I think, yeah, as Dr. I was telling Dr. Sapta, but I think, yeah, it's fair enough to mention your accomplishments as well during the answers. Like you have to tell the program director that I have accomplished this. Like I never got a scholarship, I just got it in 12th standard, but I didn't get it any time like during my medical school. So it's a big achievement for you guys. Like I don't have this distinction or something that I can boast about. So yeah, I think it's fair enough to talk about these things also.
Whatever you feel you need to say because ultimately you have to sell yourself.
Mhm.
So whatever you feel your achievement, so you can
Yeah,
like
it's a
someone
big,
can
big.
talk about some like prize in his sport career or like
Yeah.
cultural career. Anything can be a high point. It's not only academic thing that
Mhm.
will make you distinguish.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah. Anybody else wants to answer the question?
Thank you, Ayushman.
Yeah. So, but you have to work on a lowest point because you cannot say I didn't have a lowest point, right? That's fine. Like everybody doesn't have a low point, but like it's we should avoid telling that we don't have answers to that question.
I get it. I get it.
Medical life is so stressful sometimes. So there must be some bad moments that you can like portray as a lowest point also. There are
Right.
many incidents, especially in India and developing countries. Nowadays, even the attacks over the doctors and the safety of the doctors are being questioned. So we can talk many lowest points if you think because it's already a stressful
Absolutely.
job.
Yeah. So we have Indu with us. Indu, you want to talk about the highest and lowest points?
Yeah, you guys carry on. I'm still, making it up.
Okay, take your time. Yeah, we have Dr. Ali as well with us. Dr. Ali, you have something to say? Because then we'll have to switch to the next question. So we just have to.
I'm just actually just thinking about it. Just like give me a minute or so, I will come up with an answer.
Okay. So
I can
anybody?
try.
Yeah, just go ahead with your answer.
So my story is a bit unique. It was when I was graduating. It was my highest moment because this is the day where I get to meet real patients. This is the day where I get to save lives. And while I was preparing and buying the graduation suit and preparing for the ceremony, uh, my grandfather condition deteriorated and he was admitted to the hospital. So, yes, from being at my highest point, it was going to the lowest point because on the hospital his condition deteriorated and he needed emergency dialysis and it wasn't available at that hospital. That's why I have to look to transfer him for another hospital. And while we were preparing the transfer, I did my best. I looked for a place where there is a dialysis. And while he was being transferred, he passed away. So yeah, it was one of my lowest point. But yes, I was satisfied because at least I ditched my graduation and tried to save his life. And with the help of family and friends, we were over this loss.
So I'm so sorry to hear about that, but yeah, it's a very good answer. Like your highest point and the lowest point are on the similar days, and how you balance between both of them. So like for me, it's a good answer. According to me, it's a very good answer. Yeah. So the lowest points, yeah, you can just choose with somebody in your family had a bad health or you were going through the financial issues, and you can just talk about that as well, or you had some injury, something like that. So you can just you if you ever had, you can just talk about that as well. And highest point, yeah, if you have some academic achievements, or maybe you organized an event successfully, like that is one of my another example, like highest point, because I, along with my team of friends, we organized a cultural fest during third year of my medical school. I can even go talk about that as well. Or you had some, interesting patient interaction, and like you can just frame it in a way that you were appreciated for that. So you can just come up with an answer like that. Or maybe like you just participated in some, you just advocated for some well, like college rights or something, and it was like fulfilled at the end of the day. You can even talk about that as well. Yeah. So anybody wants to talk about the highest and lowest points? Anybody? Dr. Kash, are you ready with your answer so that we can discuss?
Yeah, actually, I'm just ready with the highest point right now. So, yeah, so I guess the lowest point is very much similar to yours. Like when we just had the last day of the internship, when all our batchmates were standing together, staying at the final board of the college, saying like we are graduates, and this move departing our ways. That was the lowest point that I had. And coming to the highest point was during my medical school, when me and my friends together did a role play during the cultural fest. Actually, the chief guest during that time was a famous Sini Telugu actor. So, who personally appreciated us by calling us onto the stage and bringing out our names. And suddenly, we just shooted up from being like just existent to the most famous personals in the college, and we just made it to the first page of the college magazine on that day as well. So I guess I would consider it as the collective highest point that I had with my friends. Yeah, that was my highest point during the medical school, and yeah, that was the lowest point that I had.
That's again a very good answer. Yeah.
Yeah, it is actually very well drafted, that collective highest points, and also from nowhere to the like most famous person in the world. So that way you have drafted very well.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the feedback.
Very good answer. Anybody else wants to go ahead with the answer? Shruti? Okay, go ahead.
Dr. Gupta, the question was, what was your biggest achievement in med school? So can this highest point be an achievement?
The question was the highest point and the lowest point in the medical. Actually, it was posted by somebody yesterday. The highest and the lowest point. I think Dr. Bushra mentioned it yesterday.
Yes, actually, I posted it. But the question was, what was your biggest achievement in med school?
Okay. Yeah, then you can even talk about your highest point, or even the question is same, like the highest and the lowest point. Highest point you can talk
but
about.
It is not an achievement, your highest point, that you're graduating, you're feeling excited.
That's our lowest point. Like we were excited, but we were feeling sad at the same time that all our friends will be departing from each other, and we don't know we'll be together again or not.
But obviously, some other person mentioned that graduating from medical college was his highest point. But the question was your biggest achievement during med school.
Okay.
No, actually, you are confusing. That was a different question. Today's topic was like talking about highest point and lowest point. And if like someone is the first doctor of his family, and like it can be a big day for like being graduated is not like everyone's in everyone's plate or something. So it can be if it is a big day for them, then they can obviously discuss that.
But I want,
Like you
can
are
you please discuss
confusing.
this question as well? What was your greatest achievement during med school?
That was a different question. Today's point was like talking about highest point and lowest
And
point.
lowest point in a medical school. Yeah, we can
Yeah,
take that
that
question
point can be
tomorrow.
anything. You're
Yeah,
academic or non-academic. It should not be like only academic.
yeah.
Yeah, if I can say, like, when they say what's your like achievement, I think it's the same thing as your highest point.
Yes, point.
The
Yeah.
achievement doesn't have to be an academic achievement. It can be an academic or a personal achievement. That's an achievement in the end. If the question is just tell me what's your biggest achievement in medical school, it can be the highest point. I think it's the same
Yeah.
answer for the
Yes,
highest point in
But
your medical
don't
school.
you
It
think
doesn't
so
have to
that
be an
graduation
academic.
is general to every other person?
no.
Obviously, they
Yeah,
are
but
also
it
graduating.
No,
it depends
Achievement
on
should be
how you
something
sell the
personal.
idea.
no.
I think
It
it's
can
in the
be.
interviews. It's how you sell the idea, how
Yeah.
much it affected
Yes,
you
yeah,
personally. It doesn't
Like
have to
maybe
be a
somebody
big
has
thing for you, but for me,
like
example,
for some.
it was a
yeah.
big thing.
Like
Yeah,
I
that's
want to
the
say, like
point, I
it
think.
can be a generalized thing for others, but for that person, if it's a big day, then it's his highest point because he is
Like
talking
my
about his.
talking about.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll just give an example. Like my friend comes from a very humble background, so I think like I when I became a doctor, it might not be that difficult for me to reach that point. Though I graduated from a government seat, and it was very difficult to get that. But somebody coming from a relatively very humble background and graduating and becoming the first doctor in the family, it is a big achievement for them. So it's just the way that you're going to present your answer in the meeting. So I think yeah. So you can just have that like the biggest achievement in your medical school can be your highest point. Like somebody organized an event, that can be their achievement, or somebody graduated. So it's like I won't say that I graduated was the highest point for me, but there was somebody who is the first doctor in the family. They can frame it that way that it was the highest point for me, and I could see the how proud my parents were. I could see in their eyes. So that was the highest point in my medical school. So
and
you
in
just have to
fact,
frame
I
the
feel
answer
if
for it.
we'll, and in fact, I feel if we'll talk this type of examples, the PD are going to be like appreciative more because graduation is a big event in US. Even they celebrate their high school or primary school graduation as a big thing. So,
Mhm.
so it is not something you cannot talk about.
Like yeah, it's just that you have to present it in a different way. Like the answer has will be changed like according to the question, but we can talk about highest point as an achievement for us. Yeah, anybody else wants to doctor, like I don't know your name, you can just go ahead with your answer. Yeah, if you have anything in your mind, I can just, I don't know the name, it's just written Vivo 1716. We'll just take this question till 29:40 because then we'll shift to the next question. At least we'll be able to cover 3 questions in the meeting. So anybody with anything in their mind, you can just go ahead. Like it's a good point that we interact and we can just
Can
discuss
I
on those
answer?
points. That yeah, go ahead, Dr. Rahan, please.
Yeah, I want to talk about the highest point and the lowest point. So, during our third year medical school, so we organized a cultural night. So it usually happens in during the puja. So we 50 batchmate participated in that cultural night, and that was a like opening ceremony. Like we all danced together, and so he it was a like huge success for us, and everyone enjoyed a lot that moment. And they said everyone commented that it was one of the best performance they have ever seen in our medical school. So that was the highest point for me. And for the lowest point, it was like really sad moment, like we were leaving our hostel after completing our internship, and I remember that day we are crying. So that was like very sad moment for us. We may not be able to see each other again. So it was, I think, that was the lowest point for me. Yeah. I couldn't hear you.
Yeah,
I think you're mute.
yeah, low point is very, very good. Highest
Thank
point is
you.
definitely very good, but the low point when you're leaving the hostel, yeah, like I can understand like how difficult it is. It's very good. Yeah, go ahead, Dr. Ali.
Okay, if I would say that my highest point is when I was able to organize a healthcare mission to a rural area in my home country, Sudan. And we were able to provide healthcare for around 600 people who were never given any healthcare or any attention in their lives. And this felt like the highest point for me because we give hope for people who didn't get any in their lives. About the lowest point, I would say when three of my friends had a major accident. Actually, one of them died during the accident. They were my colleagues. They were my friends in the same batch. And unfortunately, one of them died. The other one had a major back injury. That's what I would say about the lowest point during my medical school.
That's a very, very good answer
Yeah.
again.
I think so far this is one of the best, highest point you have described, because that way PD is going to know many qualities that you like community service and you work in unserved areas, you conducted health camp, like many points he's going to know only by describing this one incident.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And one more example I have, like I can even talk about the highest point, like Dr. Ali mentioned, that I served as a state coordinator for a particular student organization. So I conducted a lot of camps through them. So even if you have some example like that, you will come up with that as a highest point. Like I conducted maybe 10 different, I took 10 different initiatives during third year of my medical school in different areas like universities, hospitals, even schools, and we went to rural areas as well. So we conducted a lot of health camps and education camps. So you can come up with an example like that as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just need to add something. Like I've read this on a book about interviews. It says that you try to answer every question on the interview in a way that shows that you are helping the community rather than your personal gain. It should never be just your personal gain or your personal like the feeling you have or the personal satisfaction you get, but rather something that affected the community or something that affected the population, rather than just being something that affected you and that's it.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Especially
that's
for
true.
achievements and stuff like
So,
this.
if I tell about that I work as a state coordinator, I would be actually selling my point that I am good at taking leadership roles. So in a subtle ways, we can just deliver it to the interviewer that we are doing that the qualities of us, maybe taking leadership roles or mentorship, or maybe somebody has a very good does a very good counseling of the patients, or whosoever they need. So we can just sell ourselves through subtly through our answers. Yeah. So Dr. Doya, go ahead with your answer.
Thank you. So starting with the highest and lowest points of my medical school, I will start with the lowest point actually. Since I have been a child, I was dreaming to become a doctor and come to United States to make an impact. So I started my medical career, started my education actually at the Tripoli Medical University. But at the third year of medical school, unfortunately, we had the civil war, which is Libyan civil war, at 2011. At that time, I was a shy girl, and instead of staying home and just try to study for my exams under the random shelling and sometimes lack of electricity, the basics of life, food, and some supplies, I made a choice. I made a decision to start to make a real impact in the community. So I started my first interaction with patients actually before starting the clinical rotation at my medical school. So I have encountered many wounded patients. I deliver the care they needed, even the emotional and mental health care for these patients. At that point, I have changed in my personality 100% from a shy person to a person who's really ready to give the utmost for patient care. Then I started also community service at that time. Then the highest points I can mention about medical school is that out of this experience, I became the strong and resilient person I am today. Not to mention also the wide variety of rare cases that I have encountered during my medical school on that fourth and the fifth, and also before graduation at my internship, where I have encountered many rare cases, like, let's say, in dermatology, case of ecdycosis, in surgery, there's a case of gastric gangrene. I remember cases of eosinophilic granulomatosis with cholangitis of internal medicine. So countless of cases I have encountered, and this is one of the things I really appreciate about the medical school. I can't hear you, doctor.
Sorry, I'm very bad at unmuting. Yeah, so it's a good answer, but I would just say, when you talk about the lowest point, you can just simply talk about, how the Libyan war. I'm so sorry about that, but how, the times you were having a very good life, and you were working really hard, and everything was going good, but suddenly you had the Libyan war, and how it was affecting everybody outside over there, like your family, friends, and even everybody out in the community, and it was very hard for you at that time, and it was one of the lowest point, right?
So you mean to talk about it in personal level, so to talk about the war in personal level, not to mention that I already...
Yeah, not, because that would be like, that's my personal opinion. I'm not an experienced person for sure. Again, it's your answer. But I would say, when somebody asks you about your weakness, at that time you can talk about that. I'm very shy. I was a very shy person, and that's how you overcame your shyness. Like
Okay,
that is what I would do. But when you talk about the like the lowest point, at that time you can simply just talk about the Libyan war and how it affected everybody, and disrupted your normal lives, which were going very good.
A valid point. Thank you.
That was just a feedback from my side. Otherwise, you're free to answer the way you want to. Yeah. Anybody else wants to answer this question? We just have 2 minutes.
Dr. Gupta,
Yeah.
I want to say that as we are discussing this highest and lowest point in med school, there is another similar question. Can we discuss it as well? And the question is, tell me an instance when you fail in med school.
Okay.
I'm sorry, can you please repeat the question? I didn't get you.
Tell me an instance when you fail in med school.
Do you mean is that academically, or is there any aspect of the medical school you mean?
Actually, I don't know. I just saw that question in one of PDF.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it will be both academically and academically. I think nobody over here has a supply, but maybe, and nobody wants to bring up that issue, but we can just talk about the field, like maybe a lowest point. Yeah, Dr. Siddharth, go ahead with your answer. We can just go with that answer for sure. That's a good question.
So the highest point during my medical school was when I created a short film which focused on the mental stress among students. Not only we received the third prize for this movie making competition, but it also led to the formation of support groups, as well as resources for the students dealing with this critical issue. I was also recognized and appreciated by my teachers for my efforts, and we were able to form smaller communities and help a lot of students who face mental stress. And it is still something which is right now also going in my medical school, even after my graduation. And one of the lowest points that I would say was when it was my first time losing a patient that I cared for. It was a patient who was admitted into the neurosurgical department after a trauma with a GCS of 3. And unfortunately, we lost the patient during the time of surgery. And it was something, a point when the emotions run high, and it was one of the lowest points for me. But I think after that, I was able to critically manage these kind of conditions, and also improve my communication while interacting with the patients and their families in these situations. So yeah, these were my highest and lowest points.
So that's very interesting that you made a short film, and they might ask you about the short film, the link or something, so you should be ready with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, Dr. Ali, go ahead.
If I can just comment on the question about like failure in medical school, how I would like to think about most of these questions is that I think some of the answers can be used for many questions. You just have to modify it a little bit. Just for example, when they ask about the achievement, it can be the same thing as the highest point in your medical school. You just have to show it as an achievement. Okay, and when they talk about the failure in medical school, it also can be the same thing as the lowest point, but at that time you have to to modify the story a little bit to say that you failed at this lowest point. Like for example, for me, when I had the accident for my friend, I would say that the failure for me in the medical school one was when I could not be there for my friends or something like this. So I think for most of these questions, you can just modify the answer a little bit, so it can be the same for many questions. Because I usually don't think they will ask the same question, like they will not ask you your highest and lowest point, and at the same interview they will ask about the achievement or the failure.
We'll take this question like a failure in a medical school. We'll take this question specifically tomorrow because it's a good question. It's a very, very good question. Like it's like something we need to come with a very interesting answer that doesn't put us in a low light. And we are able to we are even able to deliver a good answer to this question as well. So that will be the first question for tomorrow. Like, what will you do? You think like about a failure in this your medical school? So yeah, we have Dr. Esra Mustafa. Yeah, like the question is that they highest point they want to talk about is the research on child sexual abuse, but the doctor is applying for the internal medicine. So like they're asking if it's a good idea to talk about that. Anybody wants to comment on that? The question is in chat box. Like if anybody wants to answer, like tell anything to her. So, like in my opinion, it's fine. Like you're going for IMF to talk about that you have done a research in your sexual abuse. That's fine because that was the opportunity that you worked on during your medical school, right? It like at that time we weren't preparing for the residency. Even if you have a study on sexual abuse, that's a good thing. It shows that you are interested in learning new things during your medical school, and you can, like in my opinion, you can definitely talk about that. If anybody else wants to add something, just go ahead. Then we can.
Yeah. Hello.
Yeah.
Hi. Yeah, Dr. Gupta. I would like to add in this point what Dr. Isra is asking about. So everything is everything is beneficial for the candidate when how you convey or present your information is much more important. So if you keep the points that this was the point that I highlighted myself, this was the point that I highlighted, I worked, you got something, there was this issue you faced, and then you come up with some idea with the friends and you did research, and this was the benefit that we come up with. Yeah, or this was the research that helped other people with this thing. And secondly, we did something else in our college for community service for our students as well. We did awareness seminar. We conducted some other sessions, online sessions, to help others to inform about such things. So you can just portray your information in a different way.
Absolutely. Dr. Aftab, your camera quality is very good and your posture is perfect. Like as per me, like I want to have the same posture. I have to just figure it out. But you just need to work on your light quality.
Yes, I haven't used the ring light yet. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Otherwise, your posture and everything is fine, like Dr. Saurav mentioned yesterday. But it's very good.
Yeah. Thank you.
So,
Thank you.
Dr. Shruti, go ahead with your answer.
Hi, you guys can hear me, right? Yeah. So I wanted to talk about my highest and lowest moments in medical school. And okay. So my highest point in medical school was undeniably my graduation day. And I say this because it was a reminder of how much of a transformation I underwent during my time in medical school. So I first started off as a very shy, introverted student. And I realized that if I had to excel in medical school and talk to patients and learn more, I had to become more active and I had to get out of my shell. So over time, even though I was afraid and uncomfortable to ask questions, I would still do it. I would, even if it's like, if it was a really silly little question, I would raise my hand and ask the professor. I would go out and reach out to people to work on, research that I was interested in. And because of that, I have 3 publications now that are in like national and international journals. And I also participated in a lot of debates. And yeah, even right now when I'm talking, my voice is shaking because I'm terrified of talking in public, but I knew that I had to get over this fear. And I only could do it if I put myself in those uncomfortable situations. And I'm still learning how to do it. And yeah, I have become a lot more confident in the last 5 years. So my graduation day is most definitely my highest point, because I was able to look back on my perseverance, all my hard work and all my dedication. And when I went up on stage and took that degree, it was just a moment of extreme pride for me. So yeah, and yeah.
That's a very, very good answer.
That,
That's like a very beautiful moment. I can understand. Like it's a dream for everybody to get graduated.
Mhm.
It's a very, very good answer.
Okay. Yeah, I try to like include, my research a little bit too, so they can ask more questions. I also did like, I was gonna talk about volunteer work, but I fumbled. So
But yeah, it's
yeah.
a very, like it's for me, becoming a doctor was a dream, and definitely when I graduated, it was a big day for me, right? Because I achieved my dream. So yeah, that's a very, very good answer.
Mhm. And for me, one of my lowest points was definitely COVID. It was there was so much uncertainty during that time, and our classes going from in person to, online. And there was, sorry, 1 second, I have to form this. I've just been working on it right now. Yeah. So, yeah, just, I think, yeah, sorry, I fumbled, but yeah.
So yeah, so the second question would be any incident when your integrity was questioned. It was asked by Dr. Shaima yesterday. I don't know if she's today here in the meeting or not, but it was asked yesterday by the member, and that's a very good question. Like any incident when your integrity was questioned. So just to make it clear, so she actually posted an example in the group, like when she was, during the practice in medical school or maybe as a doctor, she was asked to get H pylori test done on every patient, but she didn't do it because it's against his ethics and principles. And she clearly mentioned that she would do it whenever it's a medical necessity, otherwise she's not going to do it. So that is what an example she mentioned. Do you have any other example to talk about when you feel your integrity was questioned? Anybody? Like, I know it's a difficult question, but yeah, that's again an important question they can ask us, and we need to have an answer to this. And she's also written that it means is a situation that didn't make you change your value or what you believe is the right thing. Is the right thing. Like whatever our beliefs are, we didn't go against that in that situation.
So I believe this situation will be something very interesting. There's nothing you can come up with and you can just save yourself from such situation. If you're gonna say any example of your patient interaction and your faculty interaction, and then you come up with that you were stubborn, maybe it can backfire on you. And I think it should be something. It should be something like it involves your colleagues, maybe interns, residents, so you can just stay there, and that's how you should talk, I believe.
Yeah, like the example that Dr. Shaima mentioned in the group, I think it's a very good example. Like that happens with most of us, like in the Southeast Asian countries, especially, that we do have the medical representative or people from the radiology labs. They come that we have to refer every patient for the CT or MRI, and like it happened with me as well. So I just many times like I refuse to all of them. We can just talk about that example as well. But yeah, do you have any other better answer to this question?
I just want to give it a try because I don't have really any incident where I felt like I've like breached integrity for sure.
Go
But
ahead.
I just want to give you like form a story about a real incident that there was like during my residency career. I had to take a newborn baby who was in oxygen for like a cardiac echo to one of the nearby referral center, because our hospital that time doesn't have echo for the newborns. So when I went and everything was previously checked, but on the way suddenly there was some mechanical issues in the ambulance, and and also with the delivering of the oxygen or something like that, I can say. So suddenly the child started being sanosed and oxygen was dropping. And so I just used my, and as I was the only doctor in the ambulance with the driver, so with all this resuscitation kit and all, so at that time I just used my presence of mind and I called the helpline other ambulance number, and they came and I just immediately discharged the patient, because I felt like to save the patient was my most most first and most priority at that point. So without like informing the like my own hospital, I just like I just shifted the baby to the new ambulance, and just take the like baby to the referral center for making him more vitally stable and all. At the end, like he reached, and also like all its like echo and everything went well and everything. But when I came, I had to like explain all the events, like unwanted events, to my authority. So that was a time where like everyone was about to question me why I took that decision. But once I explained the severity of the situation, and that was for the like saving that baby at that point, so they all like appreciated my presence of mind and something like that. That was like a real situation, but I don't know how to like frame that. Is that appropriate to say or not? I even don't know. But these type of conditions are very common in India.
Unmute, Dr. Gupta.
Sorry, I'm so sorry. It's unmuted every time. So this is a very good, like it's not very common in America, right? So it's something new for them when you just held your grounds very strong and you just refused to do anything.
Even the incident was like worst, like the oxygen cylinder was not working. So so we all like came out of the ambulance and literally called for normal vehicle to take the child to the nearby hospital, because we had to save the child. Saturation was going below 30%. So that was the actually real situation, but I don't know how to like explain that incident, otherwise they may feel bad about the country also. So
There's nothing bad in our country. Like I say, wrong things happen in America as well. Wrong things happen everywhere. But it's important that we held our grounds very strong every time. So it shows your character to that the person who's interviewing you. So you're not putting your country down in any way. It happens everywhere. Like in America, also a lot of malpractices they happen. Everybody knows about it, right? So that's a good example. You just need to phrase it well. Otherwise, it's a very good example. Like yeah, Dr. Ayat, go ahead with your answer.
Hello. I'd like to answer the question, and I welcome every opinion about my answer. So I would like to say that yes, during my rotation in the blood bank, during my residency, I had a night shift, and one of the administrative staff of the blood bank called me and then instructed me not to give out any blood or plasma unit, and because we were very low on the blood storage back then. So yes, and we always, of course, we always receive, I would say, critical cases, who would need, I can't say it, who would need blood and plasma. So I had to call the head of my department and tell her what happened, and she enforced me to be wise in cross matching the cases, and give out the blood and don't keep it, because there was no point to keep the blood when there are patients who need them. And yes, that was a very critical situation that happened to me, and I think I handled it in the best way I can. Thank you. What do you get? What do you think?
Anybody wants to give the feedback? Like for me, it was a good answer. Like that's an example and that's subjective for everyone. So no example is wrong at the end of the day, right? So that's a good thing. Like I have just one more idea in my mind. We can come up with an example like somebody is working in the emergency department. Like it happens with all of us many a times. So sometimes our close relatives they come and they start pressurizing us that to get treated for to immediately get treated, and they just try to use our influence at that point of time. But many times we have to refuse them that no, there are other critical patients as well. First they will be treated, and then since you are not suffering from you're not in a critical state, so then after that we'll look after you, or after that the team will look after you. I cannot use my reference at this point of time, because for me the patient, saving the life of the critical patient is very important right now. So that can be like, I feel it's a good example. Otherwise,
Yeah, you can talk like triaging of the patients as per looking at the
exactly. That's how triaging of the patient is important. I cannot use my influence at that point, and it happens with everybody from Southeast Asia. We just know that how influences are used, like how we get the calls.
I have a point that this question is not easy. Guys, it needs some kind of analytical ability to see things, how integrity, like how you got affected and how. But remember, a few days ago we talked about ethics, and it overlaps with that, right? Remember we talked about some questions about ethics.
I know. I was even thinking, yeah, absolutely.
But here,
Sorry.
I think. Yeah.
Sorry for
Go ahead.
interrupting you. I had a question. Can we talk about how there were moments when our treatment plan was questioned by the patient? Would that be a relevant answer to this question?
I don't think so. They
well,
asked this question. Like, I don't know. Like, this question is related to much more the treatment aspect of the patient, but it can't come in that way. I believe.
Okay, guys, let me finish my question. So I didn't understand this question properly, like an incident when your integrity was questioned. So your integrity.
So that's
Can
a
you
very
somebody
good,
can,
that's a very good question, Indu. So basically, that's what I asked Dr. Shaima in the group.
So I think like if you have, most of the time we don't have any incident. Even if we have, we don't want to talk. But if you can frame something where everyone is thinking and you are about to question for a lot of things, but you have done that for a valid, very very strong valid reason, like saving of the patient, or like for like saving the rules, or saving hospital policy, or something like this. So that reason will be very much convincing that you are not like breaking any rules. Otherwise don't frame any story.
You
That
actually
I'm
mentioned a very important point. Even I was thinking about that. The same point. I cannot talk about my ethics example over here, but my ethics example was that when a patient wanted to undergo he wanted to undergo a dialysis. My example was basically that I had a patient in an emergency nephro patient. He had to undergo the dialysis. All his parameters required him to undergo a dialysis at that point of time. But yeah, he refused to undergo that, and I couldn't do anything about it. And that was, but I had to respect the patient's autonomy at that time. So my beneficence was overpowered by the autonomy of the patient. So that was my example. But so I don't think I can use that example over here. But many people like have that example, so which you can use it when your integrity was questioned. And as Dr. Shaima mentioned in the group, she told that it's a time when our principles or whatever we have a strong belief for is questioned at that point of time. Like I don't believe in doing corruption, but when somebody tells me to do that, so did I stand for it or not? I think that's what the question means.
Dr. Gupta, I agree with you. I agree with you. Once the example that you previously gave about some relative came to the emergency room, that can be presented in a different way. Like it could be good, but if you could end something like that, yeah, I prioritized my other patient, but then I helped my relative in other way as well. So I channeled them to different way, and I also explained them.
Explained them very well that what the actual procedure
Actually,
is,
yeah,
and then they
yeah,
were fine with it. Like,
exactly.
they understood everything, and then they realized that how the things
Yeah,
work in emergency. Yeah, definitely. I'll work on my answer, but that was just a thought that I
yeah.
had in my mind.
There's a good answer. There's a good answer. You can just put it in a way, because nothing harm in that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anybody else has a good, because this is a question that we need some examples. Maybe like you can get a feedback from everyone, or everybody will get some ideas. Like these incidents are very common with everyone, right? Like this happens with everybody, so we can get some ideas for the answer as well. Anybody has an Harshita? Do you have an example answer to this question?
I can actually like think about any good because integrity being challenged. I mean,
Like when
uh,
your beliefs were challenged, and how you stood against it.
I have to think about it. Just give me a few minutes.
Take your time. Dr. Akash, do you
You
have?
you mean to say, Ayushman, how
Oh,
did you stood
yeah,
against it?
yeah.
That
Go ahead.
means you didn't break it. You didn't. That's what you mean. You didn't break your
I didn't go against my
beliefs.
beliefs at that time. Like I was strongly held to my beliefs and my principles in life. Like that's what I'm telling you. I don't believe in corruption, right? I don't want to make money from just referring the patients just to CT scan or blood work just to get some commissions from them,
Yeah,
right?
that example you can give, because there are like during a internship and all, in especially government hospital, there will be some agencies who will like give you some like MR, medical
Absolutely.
representative, who will give you some incentives or like gifts or anything to just refer the patient to private or corporate care. So that time, as it was against the ethics and ethical values, so I would prefer not to do so.
And
So
maybe like just using our influence to get the treatment at priority is also like against the ethics, right? Like when there's a critically ill patient, that has to be looked at first. So we can't give priority to somebody who's not critically ill. Like that can be another other example. Or maybe like I just came up with a point that actually happened, like in the labor, when I was posted in a labor room, somebody just called that she had a C-section that was scheduled at particular time, but she just called me and asked me if I can just get her C-section done at priority. So at that time I refused, because I told that's not how the labor room works, right? The patient who needs a C-section right now will go first, and then the non-critical cases, on non-critical cases, the C-section will be done, right? That is like another example that I have in my mind, because it happens with everybody. We just get a call from a relative or somebody known that we want this and that. So yeah, you can just come up with examples like that, or even if you have better examples, just talk about it.
And hey, Ayushman, I just wanted to add something to this. So, since I just wanted to get the question clear first, it's like where the integrity was exactly questioned is the question, right?
Sorry.
Where exactly your integrity was questioned. So, is that the right question that we are discussing about right
Yeah,
now?
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Like the examples I was like an example that I am quoting is that when my integrity was questioned was that maybe like when I have to get somebody treatment at priority, somebody asks me to get treatment at priority, right? But my integrity as a doctor is being questioned. When I know how an emergency works, when there are more critical patients, I have to give my focus to those patients, or my team has to focus more on them, right? Just because somebody is my relative, I cannot give more priority to them in an emergency.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. So I just have an example. I
Go
guess
ahead.
this might be a bit contradicting to many of the people, but yeah. So when I was posted for my rural camping posting during my community medicine rotation, so I just visited a village where there was a pregnant woman who just asked me about the sex of the baby. So it was kind of it was a kind of like oh, I would say like a very questioning. I don't know what exactly to term it as, but I felt like that my integrity was compromised because she was comparing me to another doctor, saying like that doctor actually there was a friend of her who was already pregnant and actually determined the sex. So I don't know like how I can just frame it into an example which is less like I mean very less conflicting. But this was the one example that I had at the top of my head. So yeah, you can just please give me your feedback on this.
That's very, very good example according to me.
Yeah, I wish it doesn't turn out conflicting to me because I guess a female feticide is something which is way past in the older generations right now, and something which is pointing out, I guess, to the medical care in India, it would be like a very conflicting situation if you're just going to talk.
But it's very simple. Like it's allowed in US, but it's against laws in India, right? So where it depends on the situation. When you're in India, it's against laws.
Yeah, exactly.
So it doesn't like I don't think it would matter. Like, and one more example that just clicked my mind is that somebody asking you to get a fake medical certificate about their illness so that they can get a leave from the work. Like
Yeah,
that
that's perfect. That sounds perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess
Doctor,
we can just tone things down in that in the sense that you have mentioned. Yeah.
Dr. Podil, just go ahead with your answer.
Hi, Dr. Gupta. It was just an idea. I came across an incident when I was in medical school, and I had this friend who falsified about the documents, and he told me not to tell the authority about it, and I kind of wanted not to tell the authority, and I thought about it, but my honesty was being tested, right? And I did not want to be dishonest. And later I went to the respected authority and told that there was some false documents included in the real document. So maybe it's one of the times that I could bring and tell about it. As much as I value friendship, but dishonesty is not something that I can live with.
Absolutely, that's a very interesting answer. See, we are coming up with we are coming up with so much interesting answers. So that's again a very good example. Like everybody doesn't need to talk about the incidents that I am talking about. That's again like that question your integrity at that point of time. So, but
Because yeah, thank you very much. Because we all know how we value friendship very much. We are like a family throughout our medical school, and we tend to go out and have fun. But when it comes to your value, your ethics, and your integrity, it is what that you against the world, right? So
Absolutely.
that's not something that you should budge. And I was tested once about my integrity on dishonesty, and I could not. I tried lying for a day or so. The other day I could not sleep. I lost my sleep, and I just felt like it was right for me to go and tell and be honest about it. But it was not a grave mistake. He wouldn't be in danger or like losing a medical certificate. It was not that great of a mistake, but at the same time he did not talk to me after that, which I always always question myself why he did that.
But you held very strong to your ground. So you can just stand that
Exactly.
time. But I did whatever I felt right at that time.
Because we tend to this kind of situation does happen in everyone's life, right? So it's a niche.
Very good
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Dr. Patel, can I ask you something?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. So when he said documents, as in like what documents? Is it like patient notes or like?
Yes,
what?
it was actually the thing was the patient was to be scheduled for surgery on Friday, and he somehow forgot to put the documents and schedule him in the schedule, and the patient had to wait for two more days because Saturday is public holiday, and there are no surgeries unless it was an emergency. It was just skin tag, and he wanted it to remove the skin tag, so he forgot to forgot to schedule in, and there's no surgery happening on Friday because the surgery schedule was so hectic, and the patient had to wait 2 more days, right? So the patient waited. He did not complain, but at the same time, it was not something that I would. Maybe this is not something that I would personally bring in the light of the program director, but honestly, that's what happened, and and I was thinking
Yeah,
maybe.
that actually happened with me as well. Like a patient who was scheduled for a surgery, the
Mhm.
resident, forgot to talk about do the PTI and INR test. But when he realized his mistake, he just made reports on his own, right? And I was
Exactly that.
about to send it to about to send the patient to the OR, right? Just to cover his mistake. He was just about to send the patient with that fake report. What if he starts bleeding at the end of operation theater, on the operating theater? Who is going to take the responsibility, right? So that's again a very very good example. There's nothing wrong. They see no answer is correct or is completely correct or wrong. They just want to know your viewpoint.
Exactly. The patient was not dying. It was just skin tag, right? He
Yeah.
just wanted to remove but the thing was he had to wait 2 more days to get it removed, and because just a mere mistake of not scheduling him in, and
Absolutely.
um, maybe we can put it out like that. I'm not sure. As you guys said, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just how they see
Right.
it,
You see,
how
these
they
questions we are discussing right now, but maybe we get a random question in the interview, right? So we have to come up with something at that point of time.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because
I mean, that is for sure. You cannot say I don't have anything to talk. That
yeah,
I think, but this way you are missing one chance to prove yourself, something good by telling
absolutely.
something good. Yeah. So if you are not answering something, then that way some of the qualities are you are not able to at least.
And even like it's fine if you say like I've never thought about it, I don't have an answer to it. It's fine. We are human being at the end of the day. So we can just say that as well. But yeah, we should try to to prepare as many questions as possible so that we can have an answer during that situation. Yeah. So yeah, Dr. Doa, just go ahead with your answer.
Yeah, I actually I have never thought about it. Actually, I didn't even I don't have any an incidents where my integrity was questioned. But can I mention? I'm just wondering if it's appropriate and smart to say mention a case where the patient confidentiality has been broken by the doctor who's uh, she was a gynecologist, and the case was a patient with STDs that she got from her husband, and the doctor has exposed this case for the patient for the next patient. Um, so at that time, I was a medical student. I haven't been aware at that time for the steps I have to do and my responsibility to report such cases. So what I did, it was like I felt there's something wrong about it, and a couple of months later, I discussed this event with another doctor, and he told me that I should report it to at least to a supervisor as a physician attending. So I can say about that event that I felt regretting that I didn't report it and that I share the responsibility for patient confidentiality. Is that a smart question or appropriate to answer? I mean,
I think you should rephrase that you have done something for the instead of saying that I'm having regret and all, you should
Mhm.
frame that way that I have informed to this or that, at least so that they can understand what you feel when someone is going to break that confidentiality, because this is something they will never tolerate.
Yes, but I mean, some medical school they may be that like maybe it can be excellent curriculum, but the ethics maybe is not taught enough for doctors, especially medical students starting their career.
Yeah, I got in developing countries, it's not that rare. I understand, but for US, they don't like us to break any kind of confidential. So when you have specifically talking something about this, these are sensible things, then you should reframe that I have done something by that way, so that they will understand your perception, what you think when you will meet any kind of such situation in future, what you will do.
I think you're right. I think you're right. I have reported to the physician, another doctor, but it was a couple of months ago. Maybe I will rephrase it to another scenario that I reported to a physician, to attending physician, right? So maybe at that time it would be. But I'm asking if this is a good scenario.
But I don't think so. This scenario can work in our countries because the hierarchy works always, you know. Even in the USA, you have to go to the resident, chief resident, then similarly you have to go up. But this can backfire in way if you are unable to convince them that you were right, you know, but then they can think that you are the person who can go behind and such thing. But
Yeah, that can
is
be.
the way
Like
is the
this
way
is
that you convince them that you were right in somehow, and you think it was the right way to do it. So
yeah, but there is high chance they can think that you are a person who is going to stay silent in future also in this kind of scenarios. So you have
So
to
I regret not reporting it, especially that I don't have enough information about such cases or such
yeah,
scenarios.
yeah.
So, but I will rephrase it to a way that make me more responsible and that I did something
You know, the
about.
good idea is always to in that interview you will forget something you have remembered, you know. It can be the chance. So always come up with something that you already know with your heart. So even if you forget the words and sentences, you will come up something. So you can speak about it. So don't make some new story that you can't remember, you know. So
We'll just go with Dr. Mohammed now. Yeah, we just have 30 minutes. I just have one example to more to give. Like I think it was mentioned by somebody in the meeting only when we were discussing the ethics question. So somebody just mentioned that in a hospital they were working and they could just see how the different treatments were given to the different patients according to their financial status. Right, somebody from a rich family was given different kind of importance compared to somebody from a poor family or who didn't have anybody around. Right, and then they just raised a voice against them. Or like you can just phrase it in a way that when you're working in a ward, the patient from a very influential family was asking for favors, right? So at that time it was against your principles, so you could just against your principles and you just refused them, and you just made your point very clear in front of them. So you can just phrase it in that way as well.
but how will you say that you were intern that time and they were asking favor from intern? You know, this is
They
like,
ask me, so being an intern also, I'm a doctor on duty, right?
no, yeah.
I can be alone doctor in the ward as well. Right? At that time, it happens with everyone. Like the potential people, they definitely ask for some favors.
Yeah, you can say that. Yeah, you can go with that you involve some nursing staff and you talk to them that it's not possible. And every patient here is our responsibility because it's a government setup, you know. We have the government setup
Private
hospitals,
setup,
yeah. So
we just have you have to give the similar treatment to everyone.
similar treatment to everyone, exactly. So everybody is equal. Yeah.
Like it's just like came to my mind, so I thought I should share with you.
Yeah, it's equality.
Have
Equality.
experience, and you can give that example as well.
Exactly.
So, Dr. Mohammed, go ahead with your answer.
All right. I just need your feedback on this one. So it was during my surgery internship. I remember we had a surgery on that day. I didn't attend it. My senior attended it. So when she got out of the surgery, she gave me the file and asked me to write the post-operative report of the. She was like, everything was fine. Just write a normal report. So at that time, I refused because I think it's not ethical to write about something that I haven't witnessed. So she she argued with me and she said I'm not being professional because I should follow the hierarchy. She's my senior and she expect me to obey her and obey and follow her instructions. So yeah, I remember that day I still refused because I think the patient is a priority. You should not write a thing that you haven't witnessed. Each patient deserves to have deserves to have the best care and the best and it should be written by the person who have seen the patient. That's why on that day I refused. But so yeah, that what happened. So what do you think of this example?
Yeah, anybody has a feedback to me? I'm so sorry. I just had somebody was texting me, so I couldn't completely hear the example. So I don't think I would just give a feedback. Anybody else, like Dr. Aftab or anybody else wants to give the feedback? Dr. Aftab, you want to give the feedback?
Sorry, I lost the trick in the end. I couldn't understand where the story went.
So, Dr.
Sorry.
Mohammed, can you quickly repeat your example, like just in a
Can you concisely say the end of the story?
Yeah,
What was
so
there?
it was during the surgery internship. My senior, after the operation, during the post-operative, he wanted me to write the post-operative note. And I refused because I thought it's not ethically right, because I haven't attended that surgery at that time. It was out of the surgery. So that was happened. And he said I am being unprofessional because I'm not obeying his instructions. And that was happened. Do you consider that
That's
a
again a good
good?
example. Like it's fine. Like in US, it's unethical. Like when you
Yeah.
have attended a procedure, how can you write the post-operative notes, or findings due to operation or something? Like when you haven't observed something, then you cannot do it, right? So it's a very good example again.
Yeah.
I just have to say, sorry to interrupt you
Go
there.
ahead. Go ahead.
I'm not entirely sure that that's applicable, because here in England we do write documented on behalf of XYZ doctor, and then we write the note as per the instruction. So we do make notes like that.
No, he's saying that he was in the post-op patient, and after the surgery, the surgeon told him to write the post-op notes, because that notes should be written by the main doctor or assistant surgeon. So
Right. Okay.
I think that
Not
case can be go in the way.
It's not the prescription, it was the post-operative note.
Yeah,
What
yeah.
happened in the operation.
But
So I didn't.
Mohammed, in the USA, when I was there, I was observing the cases in the interns, especially the residents. They follow the orders of the chiefs or something. Whatever they say, they write down the notes on the behalf, or even they just write the discharges on the behalf of their seniors. So it's a common
Yeah, I
practice.
agree. Yeah, I
Mhm.
agree. It's a common practice. I mean, then you need the seniors need help, and there are either there are scribes or there are people who can assist you in writing the notes.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you were signing on their behalf, they dictate you. I mean, and they give you dictations also. You can write the notes. So I don't think it is a.
But that's
I'm not
the
sure
part of
about surgery.
learning, isn't it, guys? That's part of learning. Like juniors need to learn, so they give dictation, and this is how we learn how things happen.
That makes sense. Thank you guys for the feedback.
And you can just frame it in a way that that senior just told that write whatever you want to write during this. So that was again that's wrong, right? Unless and until
Yeah.
he instructs you what has to be written, then it's fine, absolutely fine. But when he doesn't tell you anything like what are the findings and what has to be written, and then he's telling you to write anything on your own, then that's right against the practice. Though it happens many a times, but yeah, it's unethical at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anybody else, like we have still 7 minutes to go. Anybody wants to answer any question they have in their mind?
Should I go about the highs and lows? I don't know. I just come up with some
Go
answer.
ahead.
Okay. So as I come to the medical school, I come from a community and from a rural area. So I understood the plight of my people very well. I always encountered the patients in our rotations, the patients specifically who needed the blood. So this was the practice when we come up with the seniors, and we started some organization of Federalized Blood Donation Society, which helped all the patients in our local hospital to arrange the bloods. Soon after working together, we grew up our society to involve other colleges. We arranged hikings, we arranged other blood donation drives, which helped us to collect many blood donations for the patients that needed, specifically the thalassemia patients. Other cases that we encountered, especially in our country, the thalassemia is very prevalent because of the consanguineous marriages, and we come up with this thing that how we can educate the people. So we started the awareness seminars in nearby villages where these practices are common, and we started giving them education in their local languages so they could be aware of this thing, and they should do more screening of such cases. So we were able to help our community in that way, and this was an amazing experience for me, because in that way I got the opportunity. I was fortunate to help my people, and especially the underserved people, And the lows will be there was this sad moment for us. One of the class fellow who lost the battle fighting with a leukemia, and this was very upsetting moment for us. But as a doctors, we come up with these cases, and we have to be brave for our patients on the end of the day. And that was a learning experience here.
Yeah, that's a very good answer. But you can just, during your low point, you can just say that that friend was very close to me and we
Yeah.
were emotionally attached with each other. It's a very good example. Like, somebody you're close one losing their losing life, or somebody or very close to you is losing life, maybe a relative or a friend. It's a very good answer at the end of the day. And the thalassemia example is also very, very good.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
I just want to I just want to share an example of ethical dilemma thing.
Go
So
ahead.
in back in our country, we have two type of hospital: the government hospital and the private hospital. And in private hospital, we always encounter a situation where patient come and they are not able to pay for their treatment. But and as employer of the hospital, we cannot provide treatment until they pay for their treatment. So many times we have to refuse the treatment and we have to ask them to go to the government hospital. Even sometimes we know like they don't have the facility there, just because that they are not able to pay for the treatment. And this there I feel that it actually going against my ethical integrity.
Okay. Yeah, that's a very good example again. So when we discussed about when integrity was questioned, if you can use that example in the ethics question as well, right? But the example that I had for my ethics question, that I cannot use in this question when my integrity was questioned.
Right.
But yeah, that's a very good question. You can use both of them when your integrity is challenged. Right, that in spite of knowing that they don't have a particular facility, still you have to refer the patient to a particular setting, and you know that they won't get the appropriate treatment up to the mark over there, but still you have to. So at that time, I feel my integrity is questioned.
Right. Thank you.
And if somebody asks you like your ethics are questioned, if any incident, that's again a very good example in that as well. Like it's an ethical dilemma for you.
Right.
Absolutely. That's very, very
Thank
nice.
you.
Anybody else wants to answer before we end?
Yeah, I have an answer for the integrity question.
Go ahead.
I would say that I had an experience working in Saudi Arabia in a rural area in a close-knit community environment where everyone knows everyone. And I had this incident that I had a patient who came to the hospital. He didn't have any complaints. He was just asking for a sick leave. He needed me to give him a paper saying that he's ill and he needed the paper to avoid his job. But I refused initially, but then he started threatening me and threatening my job, which is also a common practice in a way in that place. And he was saying that he knows the manager of the hospital and all of that. But in the end, I stood my ground and I told him that I will not give him a paper that's saying he is sick as long as he is very well and everything is intact for me. And in the end, then I had a meeting with the general manager and I explained to him my situation, and the issue has been resolved. But this is one of the incidents that my integrity has been questioned, but I had to stand my ground.
There's a good example where you can just talk about your experience in a practicing hospital, and this kind of scenarios arises. So yeah, and you involve the management and you stood the ground, and there's a good example. Yes, I believe.
Absolutely, that's a very, very good example. You have something to add?
But I'm saying, is it okay to say that it's a common practice there? Is it okay?
Oh, you can't say it's a common practice. That it is a common practice. People come threatening us. You can't say like it's common practice, but you can say that some influential people who come to the hospital, they talk like that. Something like that. The influential people.
Okay, perfect.
You can just say some people just feel entitled to a special treatment many times. But yeah, that situation was against your ethics, right?
Perfect. Thank you all.
Yeah, Harshita, go ahead with your answer.
Yeah, basically during one of my observerships, this internal medicine rotation in India, like I was tasked with taking history, doing physical examination of a patient, and the patient's daughter like told me that she's been having some flu symptoms. So if I could like write a prescription for antibiotics and just give it to her, and like I had to say like I'm not authorized to uh, give out prescriptions like that because I was still a student and not a practicing doctor. And then uh, she tried to like how do I say, like I have to frame this better, but she tried to like request me multiple times, and then I told like not all of cold, like people with cold symptoms need antibiotics. And then yeah, like would this be an appropriate answer for the integrity thing?
Harshita, that's
Any
a good answer. Like for me, it's a good answer.
like of course I have to make it like sequential and like add more details, but like I don't know if this would be a good answer.
Good answer. Like a medical student, you as a medical student, you're authorized to give prescriptions, but somebody who's taking them for undue favors, that's against your ethics.
Okay, thank you.
Anyways, guys, now it's 10:32. I think I'll end the meeting right now, and tomorrow we can take some new questions. Thank you so much for joining, and have a good day or night ahead, depending on your time zones. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Aishman.
Thank you so much, guys. It's been a great session today. I guess we'll have some more great questions tomorrow.
Thank you so much.